Hi guys, welcome back to another video. I'm so sorry I sound like a big fat toad. COVID has finally bit me in the butt. The amount of makeup I have on right now should be illegal.
Shut up, shut up. We look like this naturally. We wake up like this.
No, we definitely don't wake up like this. As always, at the end of the month, I share our performance numbers for our owner-operated dry van and our owner-operated reefer. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. Now, today is going to be a little bit different because today I'm also going to be adding numbers for a flatbed. One of our friends who has his own trucking company and operates a flatbed has graciously sent me his numbers for August 2022, and he has allowed me to share these numbers with you guys.
Thanks, buddy.
Ready? Let's go! Now, before we jump into this video, of course, I have a couple of announcements. First, I have been asked whether there's going to be a certificate of completion for the dispatching course. And while there's no automatic certificate of completion generated, I am glad to send it to anyone who wants it. So once you complete the dispatching course, all you have to do is email me your full name, the completion date, and I'll send you that certificate of completion. The second announcement is that I have answered all the emails. So if you have not received a response from me, that means I did not receive your email. So please feel free to resend. I will attach the email in the description down below. Anyway, without further ado, let's dive into this video. Okay guys, I usually do not put in disclaimers in my videos, but I feel like I have to in this case because while I was editing my masterpiece, I realized that the audio is very wonky. Why? Because my genius butt thought it would be a good idea to use this microphone without actually plugging in the earphone into my ear. Please forgive me, guys. I promise I'll never do that again. It's COVID brain. Okay, guys, so I am actually not wearing my headphones. I don't know why I never thought about this earlier, but I can just use the microphone here, and that way my hair is not making all that crinkly sound. Duh. See, COVID is good for me. Good ideas are coming into my head. Anyway, I am super excited to share these numbers with you guys because now you get to see the three different equipment types, the main three equipment types for semi-trucks. So let's go ahead and look through it all. So let's look at the general chart. I'll explain it a little bit for you guys. So in the red is the dry van, then there is the reefer, then there is the flatbed. Please excuse the fact that I'm completely out of breath. Then you will see the miles, the gross income, the expenses, the net income, rate per mile, cost per mile, and profit per mile, okay? So let's start with the dry van. So the dry van is the trailer where we had so many fun little loads where they were canceled and then 2 rejections, and then we had one more cancellation after that video was made. So it was a really, really fun thing. But basically the dry van made 12,459 miles this month. The gross income was $29,035. The expenses were $14,863, and you will see why when we go to the next board where I'm going to go over the expenses like I usually do. The net income came out to $14,171.99. Would have been much better if not for the last few days that were basically stolen from us. That's a story for later on. So basically the total rate per mile was $2.33 with Deadhead. The cost per mile for this dry van was $1.19, and the profit per mile turned out to be $1.14 per mile. Now let's go to the owner-operated reefer. The reefer drove 15,449 miles, and this is because the last load is actually delivering in the beginning of September, so in a few days. The gross income for the reefer was $36,100. The expenses were $13,552 and some cents. So the net came out to $22,547.48. Not horrible. Can't say anything, even though it wasn't the easiest month for the reefer. The rate per mile was just a little bit higher than the dry van. It was $2.34. And to be honest, this is because of the deadhead, and we will get into that later on in this video. The cost per mile was 88 cents per mile, so not bad at all. And the profit per mile was $1.46 per mile. So that's awesome. So now let's look at the flatbed operations of our friend who sent us these numbers. So he had a total of 14,644 miles just about this month. His gross was $40,050. So it was significantly higher than the dry van, and it was higher than the reefer as well. So this is something you can expect because flatbeds are doing better than both reefers and especially dry vans. Now, his expenses were significantly higher. They were $19,670.95. So his net income was $20,379. So he actually made a little bit less net than the reefer, but that is because his expenses were significantly higher. Now, the real difference here, of course, is in the rate per mile. As you can see, the flatbed, the rate per mile was $2.73 with Deadhead. Now, this is significantly higher than both the reefer and the dry van. Here, it's just a matter of his expenses eating away at the bottom line. His cost per mile was significantly higher, as you can see, than these two equipment types, $1.34. So his profit per mile was actually less than the reefer. Now, let's go ahead and look at the expenses in detail. Okay, my friends, so here is our board, and let me explain to you what is going on here. So number one, you will see there are three different columns, one for the dry van in red, reefer is in blue, flatbed is in green. Now the first column under each equipment type is the actual amount, how much was the actual expense for a particular category. The second column is the cost per mile for each expense. So let's go through this. Number one, we have insurance. For insurance, you can see the cheapest was the reefer insurance. The most expensive was for the flatbed. The most realistic, though, is for the dry van. Now, what do I mean? The flatbed insurance is really high because this is a newer carrier. The reefer insurance is so low because this is just physical damage insurance. We have not been paying liability insurance for 2 months because our insurance is set up in a way where you pay for 10 months and then 2 months are free. So for this month, we don't actually have liability and cargo insurance. That was paid off already. We're starting to pay that again in September. Number two is fuel. Fuel was pretty much the same across the board. The cheapest was for the dry van. The most expensive was for the flatbed. But in reality, in terms of the cost per mile, they are pretty similar, although the reefer was doing pretty good. I mean, it was kind of outperforming the other two equipment types, which is awesome. But again, this is a game of chance, and this is a game of what kind of fuel card do you use. Then there is the question of maintenance, which again, this is something that you cannot really predict. You can try to maintain your trucks as much as possible to avoid having to do maintenance as often, but sometimes things just break. As you can see, we have been very lucky with our dry van. Things did not break this month. It's just the loads were crap, but things did not break, which is awesome. For the reefer, it was, we had to change a couple of tires. And then there's the flatbed that had an expense of $2,282 for maintenance. Then there's the equipment payments. So this is something I really, really wanted to put an accent on. For the dry van, this refers to the trailer payment as it does for the reefer. These are trailer payments. We're paying off the trailers, we're financing and paying them off. Now for the flatbed, this guy is actually renting the flatbed and paying $1,350 per month for the rental. Now, something I really want you to pay attention to is that when you're financing something and basically buying it out by making monthly payments, this is actually not really an expense. This is an investment you're putting into your equipment that you will own. The only real expense is the interest rate. Now, in this case, when you're renting equipment and you have to give it back at the end of the rental period, this is an expense. So that's something I really wanted you to pay attention to. Then there are the different taxes. As you can see, for the dry van, it was $194. Reefer was $126 and flatbed was $569. Then electronic logging device. So in my opinion, this gentleman, he is overpaying for his ELD. For our reefer, we're paying $75 per month. Dry van, we actually paid it up front back in December, so that's why it's zero on a monthly basis. It's all paid off. So I think $311 is a little bit high. Then there is the load board. The load board for the dry van is $39.95. For the reefer, it's $134.50. And for the flatbed, it's $170, which makes complete sense. I know that he uses the DAT load board, and when you have one seat, it costs $170. When you add more than one seat, the price drops. So we actually pay $134.50. And for the dry van, we do not use the DAT power load board. We use Trucker's Edge. That is why it is pretty inexpensive. Then in terms of tolls, as you can see, the reefer beat everyone. Highest tolls is for the reefer. Flatbed also had some tolls. Dry van is good to go. Then there are tools for the truck. So in terms of reefer, we had no expenses for tools. And tools include things like load locks, because unfortunately a lot of receivers misplace load locks. You know, they just never put it back into the trailer. And if you don't check, all of a sudden you're out of load locks. It could be things like windshield washer fluid and so on and so forth. So here we go. For the dry van, it was $38. Reefer had no expense, and the flatbed had $321. Then there are the other expenses. For the dry van, it was $3,405. And the reason it was so high is because this is when we were to pay our accountant for doing our annual taxes. So no, this is not a monthly expense, but it did happen to fall on this month. For the reefer, there were minimal expenses here. It includes things like washes, etc., etc. For the flatbed, the reason this other amount is so high, it includes scales, it includes washes. This also includes how much money this guy paid to the factoring company to factor his loads, because he factors his loads. So about $1,000 out of all of this is just the factoring fee. So this is what the expenses look like. Now, something I really want to focus your attention on is the Deadhead Miles. I did not manage, I would not be able to fit this on the board, so I'm just gonna tell you. So the Deadhead Miles, the total Deadhead Miles for the dry van were 765.6 miles during the course of the month. For the flatbed, the Deadhead Miles were 906 miles. For the reefer, the Deadhead Miles were 1,571 miles. This is just Deadhead. I'm telling you, reefer freight especially has become extremely scarce, especially if you're going to the wrong markets. So that's what happened to us. We've been going to the wrong markets. At one point, we had to do an almost 500-mile deadhead out of Texas. So that's always fun. So in general, what do I think about this month? I think this month was actually pretty decent, especially compared to the last few months. Was it efficient? Absolutely not. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to release another 2 videos. The first video I'm going to release is I'm going to show you how much money you could make with these 3 equipment types using these real numbers from August 2022 if you were to hire a driver for 55 cents per mile, 60 cents per mile, or 65 cents per mile. That's the next video I'm going to release. The video after that I'm going to release is I'm going to compare our performance for our dry van and reefer for our company to last year, August. I want you to see the difference between this year, August, and last year, August. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to compare 2 owner-operated trucks from this month versus the 1 owner-operated truck we had in August of 2021. I think that will make for a very interesting video. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm so sorry if I sounded like a frog. I'm sorry I sound out of breath. COVID really has handed my butt to me. I rated 0 out of 5 stars. I do not recommend. I hope you gained some insight perhaps, and I'll see you guys in the next one.